Hello everyone, welcome back for another science video. So today we're going to be talking about the two different kinds of reproduction, asexual and sexual reproduction. And we are also going to be talking about inherited traits versus learned behavior. So what do you get from your parents versus what are you taught and what do you learn on your own that you wouldn't know otherwise? So let's go ahead and take a closer look at that. So let's start by talking about what exactly asexual reproduction is. Now we've talked about this as a class before, but this should be a little refresh, kind of get your memory back right. But asexual reproduction, this just means that an organism can create an offspring or can create offsprings that are identical to the parent. So it's pretty much like a copy. It's not pretty much, it is. It's a copy. So the parent is able to reproduce just that single parent and it creates an offspring that's exactly identical. And the offspring is identical because there wasn't another parent to create any sort of genetic variation. It only had one set of genetic material to work with, so that's all that the offspring gets. So here I'm just showing you a visual example. So you have your parent and then you have your offspring. They're going to have the same DNA. Everything's going to be exactly the same for both of those. Now let's go ahead and take a look at sexual reproduction. So remember, asexual reproduction just means that there's one parent and the offspring is an exact copy. Sexual reproduction is different because there must be two parents to create an offspring. So asexual reproduction is one, sexual reproduction is two. So I'm going to draw a similar example, but you're going to be able to see that there are two parents needed to create one offspring. So we have a parent plus a parent equals an offspring. And then offspring, the actual name offspring, it just means that that's the organism that's produced. So when I say offspring, I mean that's an organism that's produced. So when you have two parents, there's going to be more genetic variation because you have two sets of genetic material that you're working with. And we're going to talk about that more later. But technically, yeah, you are your parents' offspring. So if you want to think about that in terms of like normal households, and we're not talking about other organisms, yeah, you're your parents' offspring. So now we're going to look at inherited traits. So let's talk about what exactly an inherited trait is going to be. So these are things that are passed down to you from your parents. You inherit them directly from your parents. So examples of this could be you having blue eyes, or maybe brown hair, or even dimples. Some people have dimples, some people don't, but that's something that you would inherit from your parents. You can't control you having any of those things. You either get them or you don't. Yeah, so all of these things are passed down from parent to offspring. So remember, offspring is just the organism that is produced. You can either have an offspring that's the same as the parent or different. We're different parents. Now, let's talk about learned behavior. So we talked about that inherited traits are things that you get from your parents and you can't control whether you get those things or not. But learned behaviors are going to be different. So, learned behaviors are things that the organism is taught. So, some examples of that would be like using a fork. You aren't born already knowing how to use a fork. You have to be taught that. Knowing how to multiply and divide. You things when you take math class. You aren't born already knowing that. Being able to bake and cook food and make it taste good. If you think about like baby lions and baby tigers, they have to learn how to hunt. Their parents have to teach them how to hunt. They're not born knowing how to hunt for their food. So that's a learned behavior that they have to, figure out. So learned behaviors, that just means someone shows the organism how to do these things. You have to be shown how to do these things. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next science video. Bye.